What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you don't know who I am, my name is Akhil. I'm a real estate agent in the Los Angeles area, and this is documenting my journey to my ultimate goal of finding the meaning of the universe. So today we're going to go over lease cold calling, my listing presentation, posting, and my current notes that I took from the last almost month of posting, my follow-ups, my open houses, adding more leases to Craigslist, improv classes, general improvements. So we got a lot to cover, so let's get on with it. All right, so lease cold calling. Let's get into it. So first things first, again, I've made a good amount of calls in the last few weeks since the last video. Learned a lot. I've gone on a few other listing presentations. I think the total number is 6 now, 6 listing presentations, and multiple leases where I've gone to the property, given a price analysis, and then basically sent it back to the owner and stuff like that. So currently where we're sitting, right now I currently have 1 lease listing, which I'll get into in a bit. And I also went from the lease calling to a listing presentation for a sale because the seller decided that they actually wanted to sell. And we'll also go into that. Nothing's final yet, obviously, but yeah, I did do a listing presentation for that. So the first thing I guess I'll talk about is what I kind of learned so far. I guess some of these lessons will be restated from before, but this is kind of just the major things I've learned. On the downsides, one of the things I've learned on the downsides is that, I think I spoke about in the last video, but there's a lot of people who are interested in having their place rented out and are really interested in having me do it. And then, I meet them at the property, I show them the comps and everything, and we're getting ready to list it. And then they just find a renter on their own because all it takes is 1 renter and it's rented out and they don't need me anymore. So obviously that is operationally complex because, I do go out there, I do spend a lot of time to do stuff. And obviously if there's nothing in return, it's kind of hard. But at the same time, the positive is it's a really good hit rate. I don't have the exact numbers on me right now, but so far compared to anything else I've done, whether it be door knocking, cold calling expireds, for sale by owners, putting stuff on Craigslist, just like circle calling, mailers, whatever social media. So far, this has been the most hit rate effective in terms of if I make 2 days worth of calling, I definitely have a lead or 2 from there that is interested in having me meet them, or interested in having me see the property and give them a comp, or interested in just learning more information. I definitely have that. So basically right now, what it's sitting at is, so I've gone on, I would say at least 2 to 3 places now. I've gone to the property, given a comp to the person who's actually out of state. And this is obviously kind of interesting. It's a little different. I think I need to really get better at doing it so that I can actually really emphasize what value I can make, because it's a lot different when you don't meet the person at their place and kind of give them a rundown. It's a lot different. It's when I meet them in person, they get to see who I am. They get to see that I get to show them all our marketing and stuff like that, listing presentation, all that. So it's kind of beneficial in that way. But yeah, it's a little different. So I need to figure out that and how I can improve it. Right now, all 3 of the people that I've gone out to do it didn't work out for various reasons. One of them just wanted to go with the property manager. One of them ended up finding a tenant. The other one is just I don't know, they just kind of wanted more information. I'm not sure how it's going to go. But yeah, overall, yeah, like I said, I need to improve that part. And currently I have a lease listing, and this one, I never actually met the owner at the place. So I basically just called them up for this lead. I spoke to them on the phone. I tried to emphasize how it could provide value. And basically, they were planning to do it on their own. They had somebody that was about to rent it, but I guess it fell through after about a few weeks. I kept following up, obviously. They ended up needing to go out of town, so they're like, okay, we'll give the listing to you. If you can't do it, then we'll figure it out from there, but we'll give it to you for now for a few weeks, and let's see if you can get it rented out. So I do have 1 lease listing, but it's not with professional photography. It's kind of with the photography that they already had, and there was a deduction in commission. Basically, it's a 2.5% list side, and it's a 2.5% buy side too, but if I represent both sides, it's only 3.5%, if that makes sense. So basically what that's supposed to mean is normally if you have 2 brokers, then it'll be a 5% total commission. If there's only 1 broker representing both sides, then it's a 3.5% commission. So yeah, and in this case, that's completely fine. But yeah, I actually haven't even been to the property yet, but I do have I have a showing scheduled for it tomorrow. And yeah, I'll go take a look at the property and also show it. But yeah, so currently with that 1 lease listing, what I do notice, so the last time I had a lease listing, it was in the $2,300 price range, and the amount of leads I got were significantly more. right? Like currently after listing it right now, the people that have reached out, I've only had one person reach out, and it's been listed for almost a day now. So, which is really surprising. Last time I listed it, I had at least 20 people reach out the first day and then continuing on more. So that may show that either one, the entire market has already seen this listing, right? Which I think is less likely than the other fact that two, it's priced a bit high. So, I mean, obviously I'm going to do everything I can to provide value to these people in every way possible. I'm going to keep them as posted as possible. I just listed it yesterday, so tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I'll give a full rundown on how many people reached out, where they reached out from, what the situation is, how many people saw the place, and basically, yeah, we'll go from there and see what they say. Basically, I'll give them my thoughts, why we're having such slow volume, maybe what's the situation, if it's priced too high or what it is, and yeah, hopefully we can get it rented out. Yeah, again, I'm going to do everything I can. I know these guys, they do have multiple properties, and they will use me in the future if I can do a good job here. So I'll try to do everything I can, and I do not want to end up not being able to rent it. So yeah, that's the situation with that lease listing. And another thing is I have a ton of leases that are just like a lease leads that are just like, so I have like a whole spreadsheet right now, and I have like a section for circle back contacts. And a lot of the times what happens is I get a lead, they speak to me on the phone, but then I forgot to add them in, and I kind of just forget about it, and I circle back after a week after I realize I forgot. And it's kind of a pain. So I have to really get a little bit better at really being keen on the follow-ups, because there's so many leads that I forget who is who. Sometimes I forget the notes, and then I just don't remember which person is which. And it's like, okay, was this the lead that wanted to also list it in a month? Or was this the lead that already had an agent? Or was this the lead that told me that they were interested, but they were only interested for XYZ reason, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like kind of hard to remember what exactly the situation was. So I need to really get, that's one of the other major things that I'm noticing that I need to really get on point with and fix it. And also, I think I'm following up with people a little bit too much. As in like, I'm letting it go on for a little long if they stop responding, which I think I need to cut back on. Currently, I put it at around 5 follow-ups. If I follow up 5 times and there's still, like, as like 5 no responses, like obviously I spoke to them the first time, and then if I follow up again and they don't respond, follow up again and again and again and again 5 times, and they still don't respond, then it's like I just basically like delete the contact. It's not a lead anymore, and I just never follow up again. And the reason I'm doing that now, and I think I'm going to even shorten that a little bit, is just because I have so many leads in this method that it's just impossible. My entire day would just be following up with people if I extended that out to 10 or something, or if I extended out even more, or whatever the situation was. My entire day would just be like calling up old leads and texting old leads, and I would say I've passed like 5 follow-ups, they're just not interested anymore for whatever reason. Maybe they got it rented, maybe their property manager is doing whatever. So that's what I would say in terms of like circle backs. I just don't think it's even worth doing anything past 5, and I think even 5 is a lot, because I just have like a list of like 15 people, and it's like, sometimes it's like really, if you have like 5 or 10 people in one day, if each one takes 2 minutes to follow up, it's just, I don't know, it takes like 30, 40 minutes, and if I only have 2 hours to cold call, it's like, I would like to cold call for at least 2.5 to 3 hours, get at least 50 contacts done with, and sometimes if I only have 2.5 to 3 hours, and then I have to go do stuff, I can't spend like 30 minutes to an hour following up, because sometimes if they ask for something, then I have to make them a comp, or then I have to do XYZ, I have to plan XYZ, I have to send them like what an agreement would look like, then it adds an extra 15, 20 minutes, and it ends up taking like an hour and a half just to follow up with everyone, just because like I had questions when I followed up from them. So I have to like really identify what exactly is the main source of leads, what exactly are good leads, what are worth following up with, what are worth keeping. Yeah, another good thing about this one is that I get a lot of people that I get into contact with. Like there's a ton of, even though I don't necessarily make sales, there's just a ton of people I'm meeting, which is really good. A ton of people I'm getting to know, a ton of people I'm presenting to. And even if maybe I'm not going to list it for them now, if I keep in touch with them, I'm sure in the future they may end up wanting to relist for lease or relist for sale or something like that. And I think it could be significantly more beneficial. So that is everything to do with lease cold calling. And then now, we can talk about not the lease listing that I have, but the listing presentation that I went on that was for sale. So this is actually the first listing presentation that I went on with Jenny. The other listing presentations in the past have been with like Danny or by myself or whatever. But this is the first listing presentation that I went on with Jenny. And basically, I called up this lead originally. Obviously, it was a for lease by owner, and I was just pitching them on having me lease it out for them. Basically, what ended up happening is I went to their house. I basically pitched everything on renting. And then a few weeks went by and they still hadn't rented the place. They kind of wanted to do it themselves. They hadn't decided whether they want to use an agent or whether they wanted to just keep it vacant for now or whether they wanted to sell it. They have like a few other properties too, so it's like they're just trying to figure out what they're going to do. And then they said, yeah, they're leaning towards, like just a few days ago, they told me that they were leaning towards selling it. So, I convinced them to let us have a listing presentation with them just to show them what we could do for sale. And then, yeah, we went on a listing presentation. So basically I prepared Jenny and I did the lease presentation, which was interesting. And yeah, she just so I think the main thing that she focused on is she never even focused on the presentation at all. She really just focused on getting to know the person, right? Like she didn't even open up the book, I think, even once. Like the booklet that we brought, we just kind of left it for them and the comps. So she was really focused on, just making sure she's identifying what they are looking for, like the prospects are looking for. She was really big on building rapport with them, figuring out really what specifically she could do to help and how she could help. And she really didn't make it anything about like who we are, what we do. She really just made it about how we can help her. And she went over like staging. She went over what repairs she would make. She went over just some market insights about the neighborhood. So I think I learned quite a bit just from like just being there, even though I didn't say much. I was kind of just watching. I was like, damn, this is actually pretty interesting because there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to take away. It's really just she was really focused on just building rapport with them, the prospects, and focusing on how we could help them, rather than okay, here's who we are, here's how many sales we did. Like, no, we are a big team, but here's exactly how we can help you. Here's how us being a team helps serve you. They were looking into multifamily, and she was talking about how we have a person on our team who does specifically multifamily, and we would be happy to help and all of that. So yeah, I think that's always a good thing to remember, is that it's always about the end customer rather than about you. And I think I'm going to take that approach more in my lease listing presentations as well, and less presenting and more just like about the prospect and how we can help the prospect and what we think about the property. So yeah, that's everything about the lease listing presentation. Oh yeah, and one more thing about that. I think I need to personally work on just building rapport with people. And we'll get into it later, but I actually took improv classes on the advice of one of my peers, or I guess one of my team members. And that also kind of ties in. But yeah, building rapport with people, increasing my ability to communicate with people, have and hold conversations, I think is one of the most important skills. And really just trying to get better at doing that and speaking too. See, even like right there, I actually said, right? And like. So, and like I stop and I pause. These things obviously are not as optimal as if you could remove the uhs, ums, and like long pauses from your speaking. It's significantly more optimal and it comes across significantly better during any like presentation, during any like video, during any like whatever you're doing, even just in a conversation. The less ums, likes, ifs, all of that, it's like it's just better overall. It's something I need to focus on, and obviously, as you can tell, I'm no pro, and it's just a work in progress. So I'll keep working on it, get better and better, and we'll see how it goes. So let's go on to the next thing, which is posting, and my current notes on that. So everything to do with posting. So if you don't know, basically in the last couple months, I revamped my posting once a day, and now I try to pretty much post 6 days a week, once a day. I probably post about 7 now, but my aim is 6. I almost always beat it with 7, but my aim is 6. And normally I post a short, and that'll be like of me, obviously talking like this in front of a camera about something to do with real estate, like interest rates or home versus condo, or why is this better than this, or whatever. Just something to do with real estate that's providing value to a buyer, seller, or renter. So what I've noticed from that, right, is I took all of the 30 or 40 shorts that I've probably posted, and I also post like the tweet videos once in a while too, and my open houses whenever I have an open house, and I just posted my new lease listing. But regardless of that, from the shorts, right, that's kind of what I'm mainly focusing on. I'm kind of using the metric of views right now. Obviously, views is not necessarily the most important metric, but at this current point, I think the more views, the better. It just kind of improves my ability to really understand what people are trying to watch and really understand how to grab attention. So right now, the metric that I'm optimizing for is views. I think in the future, the metric that'll be optimizing for may change. But for now, it's views, just so that I can really understand how to grab attention from a potential viewer. So here's what I currently noted. So I had like 4 videos or 5 videos that performed really well compared to the other like 30, which performed okay. And by well, I mean like those 4 one of them got like 500 views, another one got like 400, one got 300, one got 200, and I think one got like 100 or something. So those 5 compared to my other ones, my other videos got like 5 views, 10 views, 20 views, stuff like that. In between that range on YouTube and Instagram. So here's what I noticed. These are like some of the notes that I noticed from those shorts. So here are the things that separated those 4 or 5 shorts from the others. And obviously these are not like hard and fast rules, but these are some things that I think if I implement onto my other videos and shorts in the future, I think could increase the number of views that I get and the number of potential prospects that see it. So the first thing that I did in those videos, in a couple of them that I didn't do in the other ones, is having like a big gesture at the start, at like the hook. So it's like if you have, so just to like really grab their attention, like, did you know that home value, like that, just to like grab their attention and really, get them to continue watching, get them interested in the subject. So kind of big gestures at the start really work well. Another thing I noticed, the hook is very, very important. It's kind of the most important part of the video. Like even if you have a shitty video and a really good hook, people will still watch the entire video. But if you have a shitty hook and a really good video, people are not going to watch the video because the hook is shitty. So people kind of just like scroll really fast, and if something doesn't grab their attention, they kind of just leave. That's what I noticed. So another thing that I noticed that does really, really well is stating a really strong opinion at the start of the video. So if you start off a video with something like, condos suck, or something like that, or like whatever, then people are like, what? Why does he say that? And then their interest is like interested. They're like interested, like, huh? What does he mean? And then you kind of just go into like blah, blah, and then you just like describe why you believe that. But that's what a couple of the videos, right, were about that. Like, home buying is X, or this is this, or property managers suck. Here's what to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily need to be negative. It could be positive too. But just having a strong opinion at the start that grabs viewers' attention helps so far from what I've seen. So another thing that I noticed is, what I'm presuming, I don't really know, but I want to try, well, this is what I just noted down for something I want to try, but this is what I want to try on some of my next shorts. I want to try avoiding having like at the start of the video, saying like, okay, here are 3 ways to do blah, blah, blah. So the first way to do blah, blah, blah is to X. The second way to do blah, blah, blah is to Y. It's kind of like restating the same thing over and over again. It just kind of like elongates the video, but I think it also ruins retention. And it kind of just makes the video, like, the hook could be really good, but then it just like slows down, and it's like woo, when you like fall off a cliff and die. So it's like not very interesting anymore. So what I want to try to do is, instead of like doing that, obviously just shorten the video and get straight to the point. Like 3 things to look for in your next house purchase. Number 1, blah, blah. Number 2, blah, blah. Number 3, blah, blah. Or not even like, you don't even have to say number 1, 2, and 3. First, blah, 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 blah. Another thing you should look for is blah, blah, blah. And finally, you should look for blah, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying? It's like faster, I guess. And you get rid of all of the, instead of like 3 things to look for when you buy a house. The first thing you should look for when you buy a house is X. The second thing you should look for when you buy a house is Y. The third thing you should look for when you buy a house is kind of just like you're restating the same thing over and over again. I don't know. Maybe nobody else does that except me, but that's what I was doing. So, yeah. The next thing I noted down that I want to try is starting the short mid-story. So it's like I accidentally did this with one of my previews for my big videos, but I was like telling a story, and then I started the short in the middle of the story. So basically it looked like something like this. So I was there showing this house to the property manager. The property manager didn't do something like that. Just like, and it's kind of like you start at mid-story without like, it's not like once upon a time there was it's like you kind of like start in the middle of the story of what happened. So I was there and the property manager didn't show up and it was like terrible. This is exactly why you should never use a property manager. And it's something like that. It kind of like, it grabs their attention. They're like, huh, what is this guy talking about? Property managers suck. What? Exactly. So that is what I'm currently going to try next time, maybe for a couple of the shorts. Try starting mid-story, or just like having a story at the start about like the subject. So yeah, and then the last thing I noted down is less filler words, and don't restate the entire subject. If like what I was doing is like I was saying like new constructions. I kept saying like the same giant word over and over again. So it was like new constructions are X Y Z Z Z. New constructions are also X Y Z Z Z Z Z. New constructions are. It's just like restating the same word, giant word over and over and over again. Maybe that's not a good example, but instead of that, I could just say they are really great. This with this. This is another reason they're really great. This is another reason they're really great. Instead of new constructions are blah 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 blah. It's kind of like similar to the first thing I said, but yeah, that's kind of my current notes on it. I don't know if that seemed jumbled, but those are my notes. I'm going to try doing those things next time. My next start of filming shorts. So I filmed up like 30 right now, so I have to just kind of get rid of those. But then my next 30, I'm going to really use these notes, try to, again, gesture at the start to make like a hook, stating a strong opinion at the start, obviously. And I'm going to try to use less filler words and maybe starting it in the middle of a story as a hook too. So yeah, the next thing I want to go over is my follow-ups. So I know I talked about my least listing follow-ups, which I kind of reused, but I'm also reusing my overall follow-ups, just like overall my entire database. What I think is like, especially for like some of the lease listings and some of the door knocking leads, I think I ended up following up too much to the point where like I just get blocked, or they're just like, it's like to the point where none of them even respond or even see the messages. So there is a such thing as following too much, in my opinion. I think for most of the, like, because at the start, you know, you always read all of these, like Tom Ferry and all these guys who they always say, yeah, there's no such thing as too much follow-up. But in my opinion, there is a such thing, at least in my experience. Maybe I'm totally wrong and I'll change my mind in the future. But currently, what I'm seeing is, and just so far, like in the leads that I forgot to follow up with for a few days and then checked back, although a bit longer periods of time than I normally do, ended up having better responses than the ones I kept following up every day with, or like every other day with. So that's just my experience from it. Obviously, that doesn't mean I'm going to, you know, there's a lead that's going to walk in that's going to say, oh yeah, I'm looking for XYZ, and then I follow up with them 3 weeks later with like 2 properties. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, what I mean by that is like, okay, I have like a lead that I meet that's kind of more long-term. They're not really looking to buy and sell now. But instead of calling them up every 90 days, which I feel like, honestly, it kind of just like gets on people's nerves, or they just stop responding. Instead of that, you kind of just maybe shoot a text once in a while, maybe every once in 3-4 months, just provide some value, maybe call them every once or twice a year, shoot them an email, keep them on email blast, send them postcards, just like using different mediums. You follow up, but it's like instead of me calling them up every 90 days, it's me like I'm still touching them every 90 days, but it's not the same way. One time it's an email, one time it's a phone call, one time it's a text about something that went on in their market, one time it's like a postcard, one time maybe they see my sign or something. Just like that, instead of like berate them, you know what I'm saying? Because like a lot of the leads that I had, I feel like they just never responded, or they just kind of, it's a one-way text chain, and I see 40 messages that I've sent and then they've never responded once. So it's like, you obviously don't want that. That's just overall, especially for the lease contacts, I felt like there's not even a point to following up with them every single 90 days. Sometimes it's just a waste of time. Like, why am I following up with this $3,500 lease lead, trying to call them every 90 days just to see how they're doing? Instead, what I should do is I should maybe every 6 months or 1 year call them up, check in. Hey, I know it's been about a year since you guys leased a place, blah, blah, blah. You guys looking to get another place? You guys looking to upgrade, maybe get a house, blah, blah. Like something like that, I think makes a little bit more sense. And then just keep them on an email blast, and also send them postcards maybe once or twice a year. That, to me, makes more sense than just like email blasting them every 5 seconds, like calling them every 90 days. So yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at with the follow-ups. Maybe I'll change my mind. But any leads that walk in, obviously, like if there's a lead that's going to walk into an open house, I'm going to follow up pretty well with them. I'm going to make sure I hit them at least once every other day for at least a week or two. And only if they don't respond for all of that, then do I elongate the process, just to make sure I'm really helping them out as much as possible. But yeah, it's just really just for those long-term follow-ups that I'm kind of reducing. So the next subject is open houses. So yeah, in the last 4 weeks, I'm pretty sure I held like an open house every single week, and a couple of the weeks I held 2 open houses. Yeah, I've just been really grinding out those. I've been getting a decent amount of leads from there. I think I got a couple, maybe longer-term buyers that are looking from there. And yeah, I mean, I think overall, the open houses are still fantastic. And for one of them, I had a lead that was really interested in like buying, and they were probably going to buy a place. They were asking me about the buyer broker agreement and all of that. I tried to provide as much value as possible, just explain to them what the situation is, what the new laws were, how it works. And basically, they just essentially asked me, hey, would you be open to reducing the commission. And basically what I said is, since the seller is still paying the commission in 99% of scenarios, it's not going to be an out-of-pocket expense for you guys. So we could just set it as 2.5% in the buyer-broker agreement. It won't really make a difference. And in fact, we don't even really need to use a buyer-broker agreement because from my experience so far, don't tell anyone, but nobody's asked me during a showing for a buyer-broker agreement. And if they don't ask, don't tell the NAR, but I am not providing one. So, yeah, as I was saying, nobody ever heard that. But, yeah, so I've yet to really, instill it into practice. But, yeah, so as I was saying, I didn't really see why, there would be, that much of an issue. But basically, when I said that, after I said that, they just stopped, they just, literally stopped contacting me. So I guess they went with, a 1% agent or something on the buy side, which is fine, that's totally fine. At the end of the day, I'm here to provide as much value as possible. And if they feel like a 1% agent is going to provide more value to them, then that's totally fine with me. I mean, look, that's all good. So that is, the next thing is, oh yeah, so I also haven't gotten to use the other open house sign-in sheet too. I'm still using the same old open house sign-in sheets, and so far so good. No NAR, detectives are coming in. Keelish, we see that you've broken the new association realtor laws. You're not using the proper open house sign-in at your open house that got approximately 0 people. We're going to have to revoke your license. So, yeah, I haven't had that happen to me yet. Gladly. I'm not going to say that's not going to happen. It may. But, yeah, I haven't had to use the new open house sign-ins just yet. Anyway, on to the next subject. The next subject is Craigslist leases. So, I got a $30,000, well, a $20,000 and $25,000 lease looking lead. He's looking for a place to lease for $25,000 from Craigslist. I haven't sold him anything, but I know he's a real person, and I showed him one place so far. So, yeah, that's the current situation. So, I got this lead. Obviously, he reached out to me. His move-in is December 1st, and obviously, since you have no idea when I filmed this, we're filming this right now at September 7th? Yeah, September 7th is today. He reached out to me last month. So obviously, if you reach out in August for something in December, basically nobody's going to accept that far of a move-in date, except people who are using it as a short-term rental and then are also open to long-term rentals. So yeah, I mean, we basically agreed that, yeah, we would circle back kind of late October, maybe early November, so that we could actually find a person looking to accept a 1-month move-in date. December 1st move-in date makes sense if it's you're looking late October, early November. But if you look at an August for something in December, no landlord is going to sit there with 2 months of vacancy or 3 months of vacancy. So, yeah, that's kind of the situation there. But, yeah, I did get a lease lead. So I then decided, okay, well, I got one lease lead. If I keep listing up these more... And the way I got that one was I listed Jenny's $20,000 lease on Craigslist, and then somebody reached out to me from that. That was the only lead that reached out to me that was that expensive, but... Yeah, so I was like, okay, well, screw it. If I keep adding expensive lease listings on Craigslist, maybe somebody will, maybe more people will reach out to me. So I think I texted 32 agents, maybe 30. I'll just say 30. So I texted 30 agents in Compass. A couple of them I knew, a couple of them I didn't. But I did text 30 agents, and the response was overwhelmingly negative. I texted them asking, hey, is there any chance I could upload your lease listing onto Craigslist? I've gotten a couple good leads from there, and I think it may help exposure. May help get free exposure for you guys' lease listing. And then most of the responses were overwhelmingly negative. It was no, you have no right to do that. Do not put my lease listing on Craigslist. I was like, yo, okay, no worries. But yeah, and it was I was doing mass text how I did for the open houses. But yeah, basically all of the agents were really negative about it. There was 2 agents that were fine with it though, and I did upload their lease listings to Craigslist, and so far I have gotten nothing. But yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much the situation. I don't think I'll be texting mass agents anymore, simply because it's kind of weird when you text you mass text agents, and then you have a client that you want to show a place, and you have to text the same agent, and it's they see oh, this guy asked me for something. I don't know, it's kind of weird. But also, just because of how negative it was, I don't know, I don't want to burn any bridges potentially, and also I'm not sure how useful it is. I may have to text a million agents to just get enough lease listings for it to make a dent into anything. I mean, currently, I think I'm just going to stick to any team lease listings, and there's a couple agents in my office that are fine with it, and a couple agents that already said yes. I'll list anything they also have anyway on Craigslist. But aside from that, I don't think I'll be like really actively trying to get more lease listings into Craigslist. I think it's going to be something more like anything I get, I'll list it on Craigslist. And yeah, the only reason I say that is because I just don't like making a bad impression on that many agents, especially since most agents, it's not like a small community of agents. There's quite a lot of agents, but I just don't want to do that. I just don't think it's like a good reputation to have with a bunch of agents, especially since it was just such a negative response. Like if I ask for open house, it's not that big of a deal. Some people say no, some people say yes, but like the responses that I was getting from agents when I was like just asking like, hey, would you mind if I maybe uploaded your lease listing? It was like overwhelmingly negative. It was like, no, you're not allowed to do that. No, how dare? It's like, bro, chill. I didn't list anything yet. I'm just asking if I can. Right? So it's like, I don't know. Anyway, that's that. So yeah, and I did have a couple of lease leads that were like around 8,000 for Jenny's other listings, which were cool too. But nothing closed yet. So the next thing is improv class. So if you don't know what those are like classes where it's a really like, okay, so LA has some really good improv classes. So let me take a step back. Okay. What the heck does improv classes have to do with me? Right? We'll get to the subject of what it is after that, after we define what it has to do with me. So, Danny Hizami, the guy I've been door knocking with, my man. We have been door knocking, and he's obviously, like I said, in the best, fantastic person with building rapport. He's really, really good. One of the best, actually, I've seen, and I've seen quite a few people, and he's really good at building rapport. He gets along with a lot of people really well, especially the older community. If he's watching this, no offense, my man, but you get along well with old guys and old ladies. But yeah, he gets along really well with a lot of people, and yeah, I mean, he does really, really well. So he recommended me to go to improv classes. He used to actually teach these, basically, and he also went to them, and he's like big on improv and stuff like that, and he recommended it to me. And obviously, I didn't know what it was at the start. And right now I'll define it for you. So basically, my interpretation of improv classes, it's primarily for actors, obviously, but it's basically about thinking on your feet. So improv is obviously short for improvisation. And what is improvisation? Improvisation is kind of, even when you don't have all the facts, you kind of be confident in what you say and make the best with the limited knowledge that you have. So in a real estate context, obviously, you want to know exactly what it is about a property. But when you talk to people, a lot of the times, most conversations do not have anything to do with real estate. A lot of the times, you're just kind of building rapport with people. And a lot of times, people who you work with, they don't particularly care as much about the real estate as they do just working with a friend. So sometimes you have to, speak about subjects that you may not have very much knowledge with. So improv is really just, in my opinion, or at least in my interpretation so far, I haven't done much in improv, only a few classes. But my current interpretation of this is you're really just thinking on your feet, and with the limited knowledge that you have, you're kind of just figuring out. With the limited knowledge that you have, you're making the best interpretation that you can confidently without being scared of your response. So there's like two ways of saying, like, for example, I know nothing about cars, right? Let's just say a car mechanic asked me a question. What part is this? There's two ways to answer that. That's a carburetor, man. And that's a carburetor? As in, like, you see what I'm saying? There's two different ones. One, it seemed like I was confident. Even though I have no idea what the heck that is, it seemed like I was confident. The second one, I was like almost guessing. And the thing is, if you're almost guessing in your conversations, you are not going to have a very good conversation with anybody. So improvisation helps to have a conversation with people, help develop your social skills, kind of get into the habit of thinking on your feet. And you're not just like, because like a lot of times what happens, especially to me, is if I don't know what to say, I'll just end the conversation. I'm sorry to say it, but a lot of times you'll have a conversation with somebody and it'll be like, oh, really? Yeah, you do work there? That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, here's my fly. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. When the conversation could have gone like, really? So you work there at a car shop? Wow, how long have you worked there? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? What's your favorite part of working there? Okay, have you owned this place for a long time? Blah, blah, blah. Like, continuing the conversation is a lot different right? Because then you can get into other places, and then you can segue into multiple different things. Because now that you know, oh, he's working in a car shop, and then maybe he'll say something like, yeah, I've been thinking about expanding. I'm getting a second location. I've been trying to figure out another lease, and I could be like, oh, you know what? I got the perfect thing for you. A guy on my team, right, specializes in commercial real estate and be happy to hook you. As in, like, the more you know about somebody, the more likely you are to figure out a way you can help them. Maybe they know somebody that's looking to buy or sell real estate. Maybe they're looking to lease a place. Maybe their sister is looking to lease a place. You really never know. So if you kind of obviously you don't want the conversation to go spiral off into Pluto, where you're talking about, like, I don't know, how Saturn turned into Pluto, which turned into, like, into space, and then how Elon Musk is going to take over Mars or something. You don't want to, like, spiral off into some crazy, like, mystical land. But obviously you want to keep it relevant to real estate, or keep it relevant to them and how it's going to relate to you. But at a certain point, you don't want the conversation to be like, are you looking to buy or sell? Nah, not right now. I think I'm good. Here's a flyer. Bye. You don't want, like, as in, like, the ideal situation is, like, you get to know the person, you get to conversate with the person, right? You kind of get to know who they are, what they're about, what they're trying to do, maybe if they're going to be moving in a little bit of a while, or if they're all good real estate wise, or maybe if their family needs anything. Obviously, you kind of want to get to have a good conversation, build rapport and stuff like that. Just even though maybe plans maybe they aren't looking to do anything, maybe they don't know anybody, but 6 months from now, maybe their plans will change. They're going to remember the guy who actually built rapport with them, then the guy who just walked up to them, yo, you looking to buy? No, okay, bye. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's, like, two different ways to approach it. So improv, in my experience so far, has really helped with that. It's really, so the classes are really, there are a lot of games. So the improv classes in the LA area are really targeted towards actors and people who are really kind of, like, in that acting industry and drama and stuff like that. And basically they're really good classes, but they're more oriented to that, and which is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. But basically a lot of the games are geared, well, the starting games are kind of just to get you to think on your feet. Some of the games were like last letter, first word. So it's like the last letter that I said of the sentence, you have to start your sentence with that word. So let's just say I said, the grass is green. No, the grass is a greenish tint of yellow. I don't know, something. And then the person would say, why do you think that? And then you would say, the reason I think that is because blah, blah, blah. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then you just, like, yes and them. So the big thing in improv is, like, yes and. So you don't cut down the conversation or cut down their idea. You actually, yes and blah, 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 blah. Right? You just add to their idea, and then they add to yours, and that way you can actually build what they call, like, a scene, right? You want to build a scene. If you end a scene, like if somebody says, well, Mom, I didn't know that. And then you say, I'm not your mom. Well, then that ends the scene, and you can't progress any further. Where do you go from there, right? But if you said, well, yeah, son, I'm sorry about that. You know what I'm saying? And then you can actually progress the scene, and you can go to different things, and you can expand the scene of in this sense, you can expand the scene in the context of what's going on, right? So the whole thing in improv is really just, you're not preparing anything, right? You're not doing, like, any preparation. It's kind of just on the spot. You're given a task, right? And you have to figure it out, right? Some of the tasks are like, okay, you're in a XYZ, like you're in a movie scene that's a horror movie scene or blah, 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 and you have to act as this type of thing. Go with your partner, scene partner. Or the scene partner is doing XYZ thing, and based on their action that they're doing, like, okay, they're folding clothes, then you have to add to that, right? And then you have to start mimicking that, and then you have to make a story out of it and say, okay, why are you filming? Why are you folding clothes? What is the point of this? What is the stakes? And you're always trying to increase the stakes in the scene. And then you're kind of just, like, really thinking on your feet, right? It's really about just, like, not, because a lot of the times you don't have time to think about what your answer is going to be. Sometimes you just have to think about it on your feet, and if you sit down and think, the opportunity is already missed, right? So if you see, like, some of these professional improv people, they're really good at just taking whatever the prompt is and just really going with it, right? And then just really delivering on it and making it super duper duper good and just improvising really well with limited knowledge. Again, it's all just about thinking on your feet and getting in the idea of just really being able to say things without having to think thoroughly through every single permutation and combination. And a big thing is like fearing being wrong. So what I see a lot that I do is I just, like, instead of saying something, I just won't say anything because I'm afraid of being wrong. right? Which obviously in like a real estate context, you don't want to say the wrong shit, but at the same time, you don't want to say nothing, which just ends the conversation. So improv kind of helps with. It's better to be confident in your answer, and even if it's slightly wrong, that's okay. You can always muck it up. No, most of the time, people aren't really paying attention that detailed to figure out, oh, he said that wrong. That little small nuance is wrong. Like nobody cares that much, right? It's kind of just about getting into the conversation. So yeah, that's kind of what I learned from improv, and I think so far has been beneficial. So far, like my interactions pre-improv classes and post-improv classes, I'm thinking definitely I can see that I'm asking more questions. I'm more thinking on my feet. I'm more outgoing towards people. I'm better at like speaking to people. And I think overall it's a really good improvement. I think so far it's been a well worth the investment. All right, in our final segment, general improvements. So here's some general improvements that I overall think I can make, and I probably will work towards them. One of them is just being more confident on the phone. So what I noticed is I obviously record a lot of the phone calls that I take. Compared to the recordings, like as in like when I leave a voicemail, compared to the actual script that I'm saying when I'm on like the phone with an actual person, I tend to be more quiet and less confident when I'm with an actual person, and more confident and louder when I'm on the phone with like when I'm leaving a voicemail. So obviously I think I need to be more confident on the phones, and yeah, I really need to iron out like the questions I'm asking. I've gotten significantly better than the first time, obviously, and so far the progress is huge, but there's always room for improvement, and I will continue improving on that. Another thing I need to do is stick to the facts more. So sometimes you kind of just I just naturally like start to veer off sometimes, or just like muck up random things. A lot of times it's fine to say I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like as in like obviously improv teaches you that it's good to improvise in situations where it's necessary. But if you're like speaking about facts, like if you're speaking about the facts of a home, if you really don't know something, it's better just to say you don't know than just like saying some random stuff. But yeah, that's just basically where I'm at with that. Just trying to stick more to the facts when I'm presenting about things that are factual. Finally, another thing is preparation is key. So I've been preparing more, I would say, but I think there's a lot of improvement there too. I think overall, when I go to do a listing presentation or whatever, I think there's this room for preparation. And this is kind of just a general reminder to myself. I haven't not prepared for a lot of these. I still continue to prepare for everything, but it's kind of just a reminder to myself that preparation really makes a huge difference, and that I will continue to prepare and do better. And daily little actions compound. So this is also kind of like a little of a reminder, because I'm kind of doing good right now on this, but it's like daily actions that you do definitely compound. And I notice that a lot with the lease listing calling. It's like if I call for 1 week straight, it's like those like little, even if I don't do it like even for a couple of the days, I only call for 30 minutes or an hour. Those little by little actions like compound, right? Because it's like I did an hour here, 2 hours here, an hour here, and an hour here. It's a lot better than if I just scrapped a couple of those days and said, oh, well, I only have an hour. It's not that big of a deal. I'll just do it next tomorrow or something. It's just like I skip out on that 1 hour, and that 1 hour made a huge difference because those leads ended up compounding, and I have like a whole basket of leads now that I'm circling back with, and a couple of them are interested. And it's just, from what I've seen, those daily actions, like a little by little, really compound, even just over the span of a couple of weeks. So I'm really keeping it as much as possible just to get those 5 like critical tasks done every day, and just like 5 critical things to move the business forward. Generally comprises of like follow-ups, a post, my lead generation, and 2 other things that are kind of like whatever is really important on that day. Sometimes it's holding an open house, which sometimes instead of the lead gen, I'll just hold an open house. So it'll be like most of the time it's something like posting, follow-ups, lead gen, right, of some sort. So that's 3, right? So either lead gen could be like door knocking, cold calling, or open houses, posting and follow-ups, right? Because my posting varies, my follow-ups vary. And the last 2 things tend to be stuff like, analyzing my shorts, right? Posting something on Craigslist, right? Today I was filming this video, right? Sometimes it's noting down what I'm going to film. Sometimes noting down shorts. Sometimes it's, okay, I have to prepare like a lease listing comp or presentation for this XYZ thing. Sometimes it's going to a lease listing presentation. Sometimes it's, meeting with a certain person. Sometimes it's doing a showing, right? Doing a showing for XYZ place, person, whatever. So yeah, these various things that come in that help move the business forward, that is what I consider a critical task. And yeah, so that's pretty much what is the current thing now. I'm going to continue to do those daily actions, continue to compound everything, and I guess we're going to go from here. We'll see what everything is, and I think over the next, maybe like next 3-4 weeks, I don't know when I'll make my next video, but the next 3-4 weeks, I expect to do more. I'm not sure what will happen to that lease listing, or that listing presentation that I did for sale. I'm not sure if they'll end up using us, or if they'll end up using somebody else, or if they'll just end up renting it, or if they'll just end up keeping it vacant. I'm not sure, but it was a really good experience. So after that, I guess overall, we went over, open houses, my follow-ups, leases on Craigslist, improv classes, general improvements, my lease listings, my one lease listing that I got, my lease cold calling, my listing presentation, and yeah, that's pretty much everything. So as always, if you like the video, do what you will. So yeah, have a great rest of your day, guys. Next time. I'll see you next time.